Well, if you've ever wondered why living your purpose may be not just important, but actually crucial for your mental and physical well-being, then this is the video you've been looking for. Stay on to find out how you too can cure yourself from negativity, depression, and start living a joyful and meaningful life. Alright, welcome all spiritual geeks and thinkers. This is JH Dapley, and I recreate the channel of conscious personal evolution. And the topic of today is how to understand what your life purpose is, how to get closer to it, and how it can make a tremendous difference in the way you go through life. So I'll begin with a bit of a rant, but of a good kind, and as one of my students said, is going to make a ridiculous amount of sense. Because I would like to dispel some myths and misconceptions about the topic and give you some practical tools that you will be able to start using straight away. Now, this video is partially inspired by an ad I saw on my Instagram feed today, saying something along the lines of, "Oh, you don't have to choose between living your purpose and making an income." And I was like, dude, this is not how the force works. Literally, there is no way of making this even the opposite poles of a magnet. Because if someone does that, it means that they don't really understand what the word purpose means. Many people actually confuse the idea of purpose, of life purpose, and career, like a job choice. And so there are plenty of courses which actually contribute to the confusion that say, oh, start living your life purpose by changing your job. And that, again, that is not how the force works. So in this video, I want to give you a lot of clarity about what life purpose actually is and what it isn't. And these days, as the word purpose became a buzzword and lots of people got passionate about it, which is great, I love it. You'll also find out that there are lots of gurus and teachers who seem to be throwing it around without really understanding what it means. And the reason for that is because they soon discover that they don't need to bother. And they talk about something that they heard from someone else, who heard it from someone else, who heard it from an auntie, cousin, brother's former roommate who watched it on YouTube. See, all paths leads to YouTube. And so, essentially, it's not their knowledge, it's not their expertise, it's not their research. They just repeat what they heard from somewhere else without even checking whether it's true or not. And as I said, the reason for that is because right now the coaching industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and people know that they could sell using other people's ignorance. And in my observation, this is exactly what's happening. There are lots of seekers, there are lots of people who are hungry for that knowledge, and they don't really know what they're looking for. So the reason why I made this video is to tell you exactly what to look for, so you will not be deluded or led astray by people of some low moral responsibility in the future. Most people, most searchers, most seekers don't really know what they're searching for. So they know they want to live their purpose, but they don't really understand what it means or what it implies. And so if there is something you don't know, there would be someone who would try and use that ignorance against you. So this is exactly what's happening. To give you a quick example of how it works, imagine a restaurant in a really touristy busy place, somewhere like a railway station or an airport where people just have to go to. And so the majority of places would probably not bother to have the amazing quality of food or the best service ever, because they know that they would make money anyway. People would come anyway. So for many people, it's like, why bother? You know, people tend to be lazy. And so I get a hint of that in the coaching industry as well. They know they would get paid regardless. And so why bother doing a research, right? And if you're wondering how I know about this, it's because I'm a researcher. I stand by it, I swear by it, and I value cross-checking and data and experimenting above everything else. So everything you learn from me has been tried and tested, not just by me, but by my students as well. And so you know it absolutely works. And it actually frustrates me on some level when I see other people not doing that. All right, so this is the rant over. Now, what is your purpose? And people think, oh, purpose is unknowable. That's not true. That's a lot of BS. Purpose is discoverable and also is absolutely necessary for your mental, spiritual, and physical well-being as well, because not living your purpose actually leads to depression. So even the common and accepted science have now discovered and confirmed that almost all, if not all, illnesses that we have in our physical body are due to our psychosomatic processes. In other words, something is born in the mind, and then over time it gets transferred on the physical plane and then becomes manifested as health or illness. So what does it mean for us? It means that if you're not living in alignment with your purpose, if you don't follow your true path, your mind takes the toll by becoming more and more depressed and feeling disempowered, feeling victimized, feeling uninspired to actually do anything or to live your life. And then that state then translates to the physical plane quite often and creates all sorts of issues there. And if you don't believe me, go around, have a look at other people that you know, and you will see that this is true. Now, if you were to take just one thing out of this video, make it this: not living your purpose leads to depression, anxiety, and disempowerment. And this is always true. I have not met a single person who truly lives their purpose, who is aligned with that fire within, and feels depressed or unmotivated. It just doesn't happen. Because the way it works, aligning with your purpose is a little bit like falling in love. And if you've ever been in love, you know what I'm talking about. Suddenly, all worries disappear. Everything becomes beautiful, everything becomes perfect, you're happy, you're inspired, no matter what's happening around you. You feel that you can do anything. It's this kind of a state. And so it continues for, say, as long as that relationship lasts, or until that other person changes their mind or goes away. And the beautiful thing with purpose is that that romance and that passion never ends. Your purpose is with you forever because it's part of who you are. Now let's talk about what purpose actually is. So we are limited by words, and people tend to use purpose to indicate their career path, for example. It's like, oh, I found my purpose in, say, working in sales, or becoming an artist, or some such story. Now, this is not your purpose, okay? So your job, your vocation, your hobby is never your purpose. This is very important to understand, because when people confuse the two, and when they try to do something, say, here is a story of someone who thought that he wanted to teach piano, and he was super passionate about it. He really wanted to go for it, started his own business, got his students. I was going all right. But then after a few years, he realized that no, that wasn't really it. He wasn't inspired to do it anymore. He was bored by it. He couldn't look at it. And I met quite a few guys like that. And so that is a sure route to depression, because if you think that your occupation, your job, your current career path is your purpose, then if you get it wrong, which usually they change over time, it's really, really rare that someone stays in the same job or in the same business for their lifetime. And this is why people also think, oh, but we've got multiple purposes because we've got multiple jobs. Again, this is not how the force works. So, hear me out. Your purpose is an encoded part in you. So if you were to think of yourself as a piece of software, right? Purpose is one of the very significant lines of that code. In other words, who you are and your purpose are one. Okay, so your purpose is encoded in your structure, in your soul structure, in your mind structure. I'll give you a simple example of how it works. So if you pick up a little seed or acorn and you look at it and you ask yourself, okay, so what's the purpose of this? Well, it's pretty simple, right? So if you plant it, it will become a tree, like an oak tree. And what's the purpose of an oak tree? Is to become the best expression of itself that it can possibly be, right? So if you think of an egg, for example, so what's the purpose of an egg? So the purpose of an egg is to grow until it can hatch into a little bird. And what's the purpose of the bird? Again, to become the best bird that it can possibly be and further the evolution of the species. Now, as you probably know, universe is built on fractals. So fractals are systems and patterns within patterns, and they constantly repeat themselves. And this is what also makes our learning about the world and about ourselves so much easier, because if you know one part of the fragment, it's like a hologram. You know a bigger structure and a bigger structure that is mirrored from that smaller part. I hope this makes sense so far. By the way, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. So, the holographic structure of the universe allows us to confirm that our purpose is to become the greatest, the most evolved version of ourselves. Remember this, because this is the answer. This is the answer to all those queries that you've been putting out and researching. It's an actual solution to that riddle. In other words, living your purpose means that you follow the pattern that is embedded in you by the universe, God, light, whatever you call it, the higher intelligence. That line of code that is in your structure is activated and it leads you to where you're supposed to be. And this is why everyone has a purpose. We all come here to fulfill a certain role. Now, how we manifest that role in the world is a different story, because, as I said earlier, you can choose one job and then another job and then something else. But what you will often notice is that there is an overarching theme to those jobs, even though they may be very different. But if you look closer, you will see that there is some motive behind them. Something that was like your North Star, something that always led you towards some destination, even though you didn't know what that destination was. So your purpose is to become the most evolved version of yourself, because this is what the universe wants from you. And this is why people who do self-development right reap all the benefits. You know, you hear of people who become younger, become healthier, their finances improve, their businesses blossom when they start meditating or when they start doing their self-development in the right way. And the reason why it happens, nothing happens without a reason. The reason why it happens is because from the universal point of view, the universe creates us to get a certain result. And that result is to evolve, okay? So the universe evolves through its components, and we, being sentient beings, are one of the most important components to that global evolution of the universe. It's the same as if you run a business, you will know the saying, if you give enough people what they want, you will get what you want. And it's the same with the universe. So your universal marketing principle is, if you give the universe what it wants, you will get whatever you want. And this is just as true as it is on the human level. I hope this makes sense. So the universe wants you to evolve and to manifest as the highest expression of you, to manifest your actual divine power. And I'm not joking here, or I'm not exaggerating. We all have divine powers, so to speak, the superpowers, whatever you call it, the Jedi powers. And this is also why I teach this. This is why I teach people extended perception and energy healing and all these things, because this is part of who we are and who we are supposed to be. So if you evolve just as the universe expects you to, your life transforms, because you give the universe what it wants. But something interesting happens to your mind as well, because you see, if you feel depressed, if you feel low, if you feel lost and stuck, that feeling that you're experiencing is actually a symptom, is an indicator. It's your inner core trying to tell you that you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not where you're supposed to be. And interestingly enough, that does not comply with the human ideas of what the ideal life should be. Because, for example, there was a research amongst celebrities and really famous people, really rich people, about their happiness index. And what the researchers found out was that those celebrities, those really rich people, were one of the most depressed people in the world. So they were actually suffering from depression, from the feelings of even some suicidal thoughts. And as you know, many celebrities suffer from drug abuse and suicidal tendencies and some such. Because just thinking that your purpose is to have a certain job so you can have a lot of money does not make it in the eyes of the universe or according to the laws of the universe. And so if you make your purpose just that, you will start feeling that emptiness inside. You will start feeling that something is missing, although you can't put your finger on it. And if you know what I'm talking about, actually say yes in the comments. I would love to hear back from you. So that feeling that you can't put a finger on starts haunting you more and more and more, and this is what drives people to depression, and really dark depression sometimes. So living your purpose, evolving according to what the universe wants you to do, means that your mind transforms, because you no longer need the indicators that you are on the wrong path, because you are on the right path. You actually feel as though you're in love. Your mind transforms to see possibilities and solutions where it didn't see them beforehand. And I know this is true because it happened to so many people, it happened to so many students, and it happened to me personally as well. So when you start living your purpose, some very mystical, deep transformation actually happens in your mind. You can call it inner alchemy or spiritual alchemy. In essence, your mind is no longer weighted down by depression, anxiety, and all those negative feelings, because you're now on the right track, because you're doing the things that your soul and your higher self actually want you to do. And with that, that heals and transforms your mind. So if you had traumas before, if you had fears and blockages and limitations before, that actually melts them away. So the more you step into that feeling of flow, and being in the state of flow has a lot to do with living your purpose, by the way. I'm going to make another video on that some other time. So that state of flow actually heals your mind, and you become stronger, you become sharper, you become what people call more intelligent, because once your mind becomes stronger and healed, you suddenly see new opportunities for your business. You see things that you haven't seen before, and some doors open that you didn't even know were there. You see what I mean? And so your worldview and your possibilities literally explode. And because of that, obviously, your business improves, your health improves, your personal life improves. Everything gets transformed from that one source. And everything can be also ruined, because if that source is not there, if you have not put the effort to make it so, to align with your purpose, to step into your power, then your mind actually has a way of punishing you for that, because it starts that internal war between what it wants you to be and what it sees that you're doing right now. And that inner war is really internally devastating, because it's using your own resources, it's bringing you down. So if you've been feeling that internal war for a while, if you've been feeling that internal conflict, this is because the different parts of your mind, and there are 4 parts of the mind, by the way. You will also find it out in my training if you join me. So the 4 parts of the mind, if they disagree with each other, they start that internal conflict that's sapping your energy, sapping your strength, and making you depressed. And living your purpose, becoming aligned with who you were called to be, and making the difference in the world that you were called to be, transforms you like nothing else does. I hope this video inspired you to do something amazing with your life. And if you'd like to begin, I've got a free book explaining the 5 most common steps that may be keeping you away from living your purpose. And although it's free, it's packed with amazing value, clarity, and it's designed to make you think. So it's definitely worth your time. And if you feel you're ready for a private training, you can book a free call and see if you qualify. And if you do, your journey is going to be incredible. This is all from me for today. Thank you for watching. This was Jay from Aria. Check out my other videos and see you next time.